Hello and welcome to another Intro to Programming and Database tutorial. In the last tutorial, we learned how you go about creating a database. And now that we are in this database, we're going to now learn how you go about creating a table in the database. First of all, table is like a spreadsheet where you have rows and columns. The only thing that is great about tables is that tables are far more structured in terms of the data storage. For every field or every column, you need to give it a name and you need to define its data type. So for example, if I now want to create a table in which I would like to store employees' information, the very first thing the database developers do is to have the database design in front of them, which is usually developed using enterprise relationship diagrams, which allow you to look at your tables in terms of what fields they're going to have, what will going to be the data types for each one of the fields. When they have the design in front of them, then they are able to then translate the design from the logical model, from the design model, into the physical model, which is usable, implementable, maintainable, upgradable, and then that is basically the model that needs to be implemented. But before we implement anything, we need to design it, just like an architect would lay out a blueprint before the house actually ever gets constructed. So here we are in the Create tab of the ribbon, and we click on Table. So when we go about clicking on the table, it asks us, okay, now you would like to create a new table. So now I have two tables created over here, Table 1 and Table 2. So this is how you go about creating more tables. In case if you are not interested in looking at the table in this view and you are rather interested in working with designing the table, then we rather go in the design view. If you're interested in getting rid of the table, you can simply delete the table. So as I click delete, it asks me that because the table is currently open, you cannot delete it. So I will going to first close the table, and then at the moment I close it, it deletes it. So right clicking on table 1, we're going to now go into design view. So if there is a table already available to you in the list, you don't need to create a new one. You can simply right click on this existing table and then you can go in the design view. So design view pretty much lets you access the table in a fashion where you can define the fields in the table and give each one of the fields a data type. So here we are in the design view. The first thing that it asks me, what would you like to call this table? The presumed name is table 1. However, if you want to give it a different name, I say I'm going to call this one employees. Okay, and here's my employees table. Now, as I said earlier, that usually tables are linked together with the concept of a key. Now here you're already seeing the golden color key, and you're also noticing the primary key button is turned on. The primary key pretty much allows each and every row in your table to be uniquely identified. For example, all the citizens of the United States of America are identified by a social security number. All the employees in any given organization are identified uniquely from other employees by an employee ID. All students on campus are uniquely identified from other students by the student ID. So these are some unique identifications that allow one individual to be distinguished from the other individual. So in database, we call such fields primary key. That means these are the primary reason of distinguishing one record from the other. So taking the tradition, we're going to call this primary key employee ID. So now we have a choice of having an auto generation of number, or we can just click on this drop down box and it shows us all possible data types available to us. So we can say, okay, I want to use short text, okay, which can go up to 255 characters. I would like to give my ID up to, let's say, 5 digits or 5-digit letter combinations. Okay, so text is basically alphanumeric by nature. Now, the next field it asks me, what would you like to call? I say, I'm going to call this one employee name. So now I have a choice if I want to use a first name field different from last name field, or I want to have a full name field. So let me differentiate that by saying this is the first name field. I want it to be short text up to 25 characters, and then I want to have an employee last name field, again a short text field up to 25 characters, and I want to have an employee salary field, which I want to have in the currency format. So it automatically will going to put the $ up to 2 decimal places. All of those things will going to be taken care of for me by Microsoft Access. Microsoft Access is not one of the enterprise databases per se, like SQL Server. That's another database from Microsoft. Then there are a lot of other vendors, like Oracle has Oracle Database Management System. IBM has several databases. One of the most popular ones are IBM DB2 UDB, which you get to be introduced in Software Developer Program. And you get extensive hands-on and on this at the enterprise level, and also in the System I Concepts class, where you actually get exposed to the operating system of mid-range computing. That's where you get to work with SQL, and you get exposed to the utilities behind the scene that we use. Then you get to play with System I Navigator, and you got to look at the database through RDI and RDP and all those different tools that are available to you. So there are a lot of vendors that are out there with their proprietary database, but of course, based on your needs and the amount of money you can pour in, you pick one vendor over the other. So anyway, let's say if these are the set of fields that I would like to work with, then I can save changes by clicking the Save button located in the top left corner. And then I have a choice of going from this mode to the data entry mode. So my table creation is complete. So if I right click on the tab and click close, now the view is closed. I am out of the design view. That's one way to close the design view. So here's my table employees. If I right click on it and say I want to go back to design view, everything that I did earlier on is preserved. I can right click on it and close again. So in the next tutorial, we're going to be learning how you go about putting data in this table. Hope you would enjoy this tutorial. Thank you for watching.